Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today we are going to be discussing Celtic 2, Rangers 1. It's a result that keeps us 8 points clear at the top of the league as we go into the new year. And I think, watching that game, there was some real positives to take from it, and a couple of moments I think that you could pick away at and say we could have done a bit better. But you know what? After the 101 minutes of football, we are once again the victors. And I think the big thing for me is we'll go through some of the big performers, I think, today. And, Brendan Rodgers, I'll start off with him. I thought that was a phenomenal display of, for me, what Brendan is good at. He's able to play against quality sides, and I think you've seen that in the 3 home games in the Champions League, who come out to play and try and win the game. And he knows how to work against that and set up his team properly and have the shape and the personnel required to get the win. And we did that today. Yeah, when it's 2-0 down and the opposition get a man sent off, you think to yourself, let's really go for this and win 3-4-5-0. But again, football doesn't always work like that. They seem to get a wee bit of a boost in the latter stages of that game, and they pull a goal back from a set piece. And I think that was the only way they were going to score today. We've been critical all season of Celtic's defensive displays. Taylor's been getting it in the neck. The central defensive area has been chopping and changing all season. And Joe Hart's taken a lot of stick. Might get a wee bit more, actually, in the comment section. He was getting some at half-time. But I tell you, other than that one set piece, the Rangers weren't scoring today. I thought we defended really well. And that's after the adversity of having your replacement in Stephen Welsh injured after 34 minutes and having him replaced by Nawrocki, who's not really played much football. I'm really keen this afternoon to get all of you involved. There's about 500 of you already from all over the world. Let me know where you're watching the game from. Let me know where you are, where you're watching a Celtic State of Mind from. We made a commitment 3 years ago during the pandemic that we would cover every single game. Unfortunately, I've not been able to find somebody to step in for me on a match day. So my season ticket goes elsewhere every week, my brother, my dad, etc. So I'm here watching the game just like you guys, and we've got some of the locations. Jamie Cameron, you're watching from Australia, absolutely brilliant, and I hope you're a fan also of Celtic Down Under. Our pals Jared and co. Here we go. Look at this. Jim Kerr, Kurdistan CFC is in the room. Yes. Our Simple Minds on tour. Only kidding, Jim. Hope you're well. I hope you're really, really well, and you enjoy the rest of the night. Sets us up, doesn't it? We were talking about that wee period before, the new year, after Christmas, and the tree's still up and people are still into the old Christmas spirit, but you're in a bit of purgatory. You don't know what day of the week it is. Sometimes you don't know when you're going back to work, when the bairns are going back to school. And slap bang in the middle of that was a Celtic versus Rangers game that we had to prepare for. And I'm delighted after that. You know what? Any win, I would have been happy under the circumstances. I've got to be honest with you. I would have been happy with any win. But I just think over the piece, yeah, we faded a bit, tapered off a bit, looked dead on our feet near the end there. It was a bit tighter near the end than we would have liked. But, over the piece, I think I'm happy with that result. We've came up against a team who get nothing but plaudits. Clermont is the second coming of Christ, if you want to believe the Scottish media. And Brendan Rodgers went about his business. I seen some Scottish pundits yesterday after Brendan Rodgers' press conference saying, there's something up. He looks spooked. All of a sudden, they're body language experts and they're trying to create a story where one doesn't exist. Brendan Rodgers went out there today and he set his team up and he drilled them and we won 2-1. And it's a pivotal game, a pivotal result. I think at the beginning of the game, I was saying that, people are going on about you win this game, you win the league. And I never buy into that because we've seen huge swings in points and the gap, etc. But there is one thing that you can't deny, and that's if you're sitting perched on the top of the pile at the new year, chances are you're going to win that league. And I think what we need to do now is go into that January transfer window, and we need to bring in some real quality. People in the comments might be saying, shut up about transfers, Paul. But the thing with that is, I don't think the transfer window was good enough. What we might have pulled out of that is a couple of players that some might have written off. You know, Nawrocki and Bernardo today played massive parts. I want to talk about them both individually. And, you know, we already know what Palmer can do. He was disappointing today, if you ask me. And we've seen some flashes from home and Yang. So then you're looking at that and you're thinking maybe 5 of those guys are going to contribute. The rest of them, perhaps they won't. You know, Tilio, and I think we've seen from Phillips that, you know, his loan deal is going to be ended during the January transfer window. You've also got Kwon, who, you know, to be fair to him, sat on the bench in the last couple of games, but he wasn't on there today. So you've got 2 guys, I think, that came out of nowhere in many ways, Bernardo and particularly Nawrocki in the last few weeks, Bernardo, Nawrocki today, and I think they performed really, really well. Who was your star man? What do you think we can improve on? Some of the social media comments, WhatsApp groups, etc., are still talking about Joe Hart. Joe Hart, for me, first half, you're 1-0 up. You take a wobble because that plan, that defensive game plan you've been working all week on is torn up and thrown in the bin because Welsh dislocates his shoulder. And what you've got there is you've got 2 chances for Rangers to pull it back in the whole game. The whole complexion of the game is different. You know, and Joe Hart pulls off 2 excellent saves. Let's not forget that. Yeah, you're going to be looking very much like the last time Tavernier scored a free kick against us. And you're going to say, well, could Joe Hart have done better? You know what? We could debate it all day long. He probably could. But at the same time, I thought it was a really well struck free kick as well. Sometimes you've got to put your hands up. He's not my favourite player in the world. I think, you know, his goals mask a lot of deficiencies as a footballer. I'm talking about Tavernier here. But sometimes if he scores a great goal, you've got to say he struck it really well. He did. But as a Celtic supporter, I'm far more inclined to look at Joe Hart and say, what could Joe have done better? Because as I say, at that point, I don't think Rangers were scoring against us from anything other than directly from a set piece. And that's exactly what happened. I want to run through all the blow-by-blow points of that game, the performances, and I'll be pulling up your comments as often as possible as well. So, as I said before, where are you watching from? Let us know. And, you know, at the beginning of the game and yesterday as well, I had predicted 2-0 to Celtic. And I think it was kind of like a 2-0 game. And they got a consolation at the end. They try and turn the screw a wee bit. Matt O'Reilly, he's dead on his legs. He's burst his face open. Alistair Johnston looked knackered as well. And I just thought we'd done enough and we got through that. I'll be looking forward to hearing Brendan Rodgers' post-match as well. Ross Murphy, let's bring you into the discussion. You are commenting on YouTube. Hart was great today. You'll not find many keepers who can save a free kick like that. Listen, Ross, to be fair, that's kind of where I'm coming from. You know, if Hart lets that goal in 10 years ago, nobody's going to say it's because he struggles to get up. It's because he struggles to get down. I saw 2 saves in the first half that completely changed the complexion of this game. If they go in, we've had it, you know, and then it's a real battle at that stage. I thought Joe Hart earned his spurs today. He really did. There's Acsom team members who completely disagree with that, and that's fair enough. That's what it's all about. But back it up. Let us know why you disagree with it. I'm still of the view that we need to bring in another goalkeeper, because I don't think since Joe Hart signed for Celtic 2.5 seasons ago, he's been challenged. He's never been challenged by another goalkeeper. We've had Scott Bain and Benji Siegrist, and at the club, they're never going to be Celtic number ones, never in a million years. Only if there's an emergency, Hart gets suspended or injured, and we need to bring a goalie in. That's the only reason the guys are going to get a game. I wouldn't go into today's game with any other goalkeeper at the club than Joe Hart. He's the guy. So for me, I just think that, yeah, it is something we need to strengthen. Whether or not we do it in January, I do not know. Daniel, I'm going to bring this in. You're a regular contributor. It's great to hear from you, as always. You're commenting on YouTube. If you want to get involved in the live discussion after Celtic beat Rangers 2-1 to extend the lead at the top of the league to 8 points, all you need to do is subscribe to YouTube. If that is your poison, if you like Twitch or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever else, you can also comment on those social media platforms. In 2024, I am going to be entering the world of Instagram. I've avoided it as long as I possibly can, but we're going to start streaming on there as well. Daniel says, never want to see Mikey in a Celtic strip again. Nearly cost us all 3 points. Right. We'll talk about individual players. You brought up Mikey Johnston, Daniel, and Mikey Johnston has been a topic of discussion now for the best part of 7 years on a Celtic State of Mind. He's one of these guys that he's been around the club for a long, long time. This is actually, since he made his debut, this is the 8th campaign that he has been a first-team Celtic player. One of those, of course, was spent in Portugal. When he was out there, he made his international debut. Started getting some headlines for performances under Stephen Kenny at Ireland. Brendan Rodgers comes in. The first thing that happens with Mikey Johnston is he gets injured. When he comes back into the sides, he gets 3 or 4 games on the bounce, something he hadn't done for a long time. And then the other night he comes on, and he did make a difference. He scored a couple of goals. But today, I get it. There was also that opportunity, Daniel, where he's gone on a mazy run and he's crafted open a chance for David Turnbull. Was that a penalty kick? Because I looked at that. I know that it was given as an offside, which is why I don't even think they looked at the penalty. I don't think it was offside. I think it was a penalty kick. And we've spoken about that. All joking aside, I've got all the books up here. Celtic's Paranoia, All in the Mind, all this kind of stuff. And I've looked through for years these issues that Celtic fans have. I don't think it is paranoia. I really don't. I just think that there's an inherent issue within Scottish football that even when it is a penalty, it's not if a Rangers player is involved. Another thing I want to say is, obviously, they were down to 10 men. And when Balogun was walking off the park, right, a couple of things. He gets his straight red because he pulled down Maeda. He made a backside of it, pulled down Maeda because there's no way he was going to compete with him for pace. And he then shoves, I think it was Callum McGregor. He shoves Callum McGregor. And then when he's going off the park, did anybody see him? Now, he's shouting at somebody on the left-hand side of the tunnel. And I think it was a bunch of kids on the left-hand side of the tunnel. Did he spit? There's been a suggestion that he actually spat. Let me know if you got a better view of that. But he was obviously riled as he was going off. It was a definite red card. He shoves McGregor, and then he has some kind of a ding-dong with the Celtic fans. And it was just kids. I'd like to know exactly what happened. Maybe somebody on the socials witnessed it, and you can tell us exactly what happened. We've got a few people supporting the channel here. I'm just going to run through them. Kenneth McCauley, fantastic Celtic. Great to see you as well, Kenneth. Thank you for supporting Acsom. Tom Cook, thank you as well. And Martin Bickett. These are all supporting the channel. We've got massive developments coming your way in 2024. Last couple of months, we've been working away in the background, and things are going to look a bit different, and they're going to sound better, and there's going to be more programming on the channel as well. A lot of fully produced shows like The Wander Around Paradise, etc. Loads of good ideas. So stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a big thumbs up, like the video, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. Ewan, absolutely great to hear from you, mate. Come on, Celtic. I think I aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes, but we won, and that's all that matters. Time for all us fans to back the manager and see us win 3 in a row. Well, that's 3 wins in a row as well, isn't it? For the first time this season in all competitions, 3 wins in a row. And, I have made it absolutely abundantly clear that when Celtic appointed Brendan Rodgers, he was the manager I wanted. But I'm also able to, if things aren't going right, question him, criticise him, and if it ever comes to the point where you think a change is required, I wouldn't die on the hill because I said Rodgers was the right man for the job at the time. But I think today, what you saw from Brendan Rodgers is what he is actually good at. And that was approaching a match where, does he get the players up for that game? I don't know. I think that if you can't get up for a Rangers game, you shouldn't be in a Celtic jersey. But what he is able to do is he's able to temper that. He's able to have a very fixed game plan. You could see it from minute 1. I've been talking all season about a Jekyll and Hyde Celtic this season, whereby you can draw a game of football against Atletico Madrid at home. You can almost beat Lazio. You can beat Feyenoord. You can beat Aberdeen 6-0. But then you can go and get beaten twice from Kilmarnock, and you can get beaten from Hearts without a whimper. And it's been very much two ends of the scale for me in terms of the performances that we've seen from the Celtic side. And I can't quite put my finger on why that happens. Is it the type of team we're playing? Is one of the things I've asked myself. Is it when we come up against the difficult sides who are very good at parking the bus that we find it a wee bit more difficult? Is that the reason why? I'm going to bring this one in from Big Dom. I think we'll probably work our way right through the team throughout this next 15 minutes. Big Dom says Callum McGregor was outstanding. I think if you were to put a man in a match award to a Celtic player, it would definitely, for me, it would be Callum McGregor. I think throughout the entirety of the game, he was outstanding. He did orchestrate. His ball carrying was fantastic. What he does, he doesn't just see an opening and carry the ball into the space. He seems to carry the ball when he's under pressure. It's normally during a high pressure moment, and he'll often negotiate the first body by taking them on, and then he carries it up and it opens up for him. And I've seen him doing that a number of times today. I thought he was outstanding. There's definitely a midfield three. There is a trio. There's a good blend with McGregor, O'Reilly and Bernardo. There really is a good blend with those three players in certain circumstances. Now, I'm not going to say that's your first three picks, but we've seen Hatate on the bench today. Hatate, for me, is always going to be a first pick. The guy is a sensational footballer. But again, I'm looking at a trio. It's very much like the partnership at the back, you know. You used to go on about Carter Vickers and Starfelt would often get criticised for his individual specific weaknesses. But as a partnership, I thought they were brilliant, and I would play them every single week. And I think we've actually struggled to recreate the partnership. It's not so much about replacing Starfelt. It was about recreating that partnership. It was solid between Carter Vickers and Starfelt. And today, you know, going into the game was one of the biggest concerns. It was, you know, the fact that Stephen Welsh was coming in for Carter Vickers. Carter Vickers can, you know, he can do things defensively. And we've seen it against Rangers where it's almost as if he's winning the game. You know, he does make game-winning tackles. He throws his body in front of things, and he's an absolute titan of the Celtic team. It is a bit of a worry for me that these injuries are becoming more and more frequent with Cameron Carter-Vickers, because he is one of the best defenders I've seen. As a Celtic supporter, having started going to the games in 1987, you've always in your mind got a greatest 11 in your head. And my central defensive partnership was always Van Dijk and Paul Elliott. Paul Elliott was an amazing tackler, an incredible presence. He played like a captain. But I think Cameron Carter-Vickers is better, and I think he's done it over a longer period of time for Celtic. And it's one of the ones where you just hope that whatever the injury was, it doesn't reoccur throughout his career. Jungle Line, this is a good point here, right? Because all we've been hearing is the plaudits for this Rangers side and this manager. And, you know, coming into this game, let's be realistic about it. They had won a cup, and I think that I've mentioned in the past how that can give you momentum. I think it worked wonders for Wim Janssen in his season at Celtic, and it worked wonders for Ange in his first season as well, winning that League Cup. So I'm not going to write it off because it's the same rule applies. They had that momentum. They then qualified for the, out of the groups of the Europa League into the knockout stages, into the last 16. And I think, there's another bit of momentum. And then they announce, by their standards, probably a marquee signing. I know it's a loan deal, but and then everybody's claiming Celtic wanted them when we didn't. But these are things that add to the morale and the momentum of a team. And I think they've had it like that since Clement came in. I think he is a proper manager. I thought Beale was an absolute charlatan, just all talk. But a bit like Johnston at Hibs, I just thought, what I mean? He would talk all day long and not really say that much. He was found out, he was found wanting, and they've got a proper gaffer in charge now. So going into this game, there was that momentum. Absolutely, no doubt about it. You can rate them, you can hate them, but they did have that momentum. And Jungle Lang, you're right what you say. They've not had a dig to the ribs yet. They've not had that adversity. And how do they deal with that? Do they wobble? This is the thing. Celtic lose 2 games on a bounce, and it's an absolute crisis. It doesn't happen that often. That's why there is a furore when it does. Almost 11 years since it last happened. And the last time it happened, it was against Motherwell and Ross County. Both games were away from home. But I think what we've done is we've used the 2 games, that wee pocket, Livingston and Dundee, just to, lick our wounds, try and introduce Bernardo into the team. And that was absolutely key today, wasn't it? And by the way, I get loads wrong. But, I think that when I was talking about Bernardo, my view on him swang from probably the Dundee game, before that game, where I'm saying I'm not quite sure what his role is at Celtic. What is his role? And we've been speaking to Alan Morrison to give us some of the old data to try and see what do we see in this player? Why has he appeared on a grid or a spreadsheet in terms of recruitment? Why has he then become a shortlisted player? Why have we then decided from this long list to the shortlist to one guy to buy him? Because I hadn't really seen a great deal of it. And we all know that he was getting played in the big games in the Champions League. And then he went out and he kind of showed it against Dundee to a degree, but it was, even though he scored, it was more defensive. Today, I thought he was outstanding today. And the only reason he came off was because he was on a booking. I thought he was brilliant. 3 chances, third one he scores. It was a great finish. He loves a battle. He's got the defensive qualities. I don't think it's been confirmed, is it ever, by the club. But there has been a mooted figure of £6 to £7 million with Celtic having the option to buy this player. Asked me a fortnight ago, and it would have been no, send them back. I think I had suggested you send them back in January, like we did with Abelgard. I don't know when it was he had his loan deal cut short, and Maurice Jens. Cut them short, let them go, bring somebody else in who's going to contribute. But in that period of time, you're allowed to change your mind when they go out and start playing like he did today. Thought he was brilliant today. And it's now a case of Rio Tati just biding his time. If you've got the jersey, you've got the jersey until such times as someone else gets an opportunity. And another guy today who did get the opportunity was Mike Nawrocki. We had a defensive crisis. 1 minute, we're really steady at the back. We've got Carter Vickers and Starfelt shoring it up. We go into the transfer window and we bring in 3. One an emergency, of course, 3 centre-halves. But we struggle to actually put 2 together for the Ibrox game. And it turns out Lagerbielke and Scales played that day. Scales, he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant again today. I think he's grown in stature. Anybody who thinks it's a purple patch, it gets to the point where how long does a purple patch last? Because if you've played half a season and you're putting in performances like he did today, then it's not a purple patch. It's not a flash in the pan. He's a first-team player for Celtic now, and somebody would need to come in and dislodge him. He's playing that well. But what's happened is Stephen Welsh comes in, and again, I asked the question. I was on the fence. Is it Lagerbielke or Nawrocki on the bench? It turns out Nawrocki gets the shout, and we were saying before the game, Lagerbielke's on his way out now. There's no way we're going to keep him. Nawrocki came on and he played as though he'd played in that position for Celtic for seasons. He was brilliant. I had made mention previously there was a great Celtic central defensive partnership that never was, in my view, and it was Filip Benkovic and Jozo Simunovic. And I felt that those 2 players, the age profile of them, they could have been Celtic's central defensive partnership for 5 seasons, and we would really have been a rock at the back. But because both of them had really bad knees, it never ever worked out for them. And I think since then, I'm wondering if we've had players of that ilk, that style, and I look at Big Nawrocki and I think he is that type of player. He really is that type of player. I think we've got a right good one on our hands here. And he's one that, listen, he was written off not because of bad performances, but because he had fallen off the radar, really. And then you start thinking, well, what's Brendan seeing at training that he doesn't like? Because there was obviously something. There's something I'm going to shout out. I normally don't do this, right? Because a lot of the people on here might not actually be on social media, but I'm going to shout somebody out on the socials leading into this game because it is just blissful after beating them 2-1. Peter O'Neill, Super Sticker, thank you very much for supporting the channel. If you do support the channel, you allow us to create more and better content. Acsom is evolving all the time. I've never allowed it, never wanted it to stand still. We went from a kitchen table to booking out a studio to then having a studio at our disposal for best part of 3 years. And now we've moved into our own place and we're going to build and build and build. And the only way we can do that is by having an amazing audience like you guys. So thank you very much. It really is appreciated. I'm not just saying that. We've also got Ty Tim. I'm going to bring this in here. Ty Tim. Great to hear from you. Brilliant result, Calmac. Excellent. Totally agree with that. It was brilliant. Still some big issues to be sorted in January. But at the end of the day, we are better than them. Yeah, I think it's a massive, massive statement today. Jim Orr spoke about a statement of intent when he was talking about the signing that Rangers have just made. Statement of intent. You can like him, you can think he's a flop, whatever, but it's a statement. And I think it was a statement. But not as big a statement as going out and winning the final Glasgow derby of the season. And yeah, I know there was a different hue to it near the end of the game, but I felt pretty comfortable throughout that. And I'm certainly not going to labour any negatives or any points to improve because that's something that can kind of roll into January. And I'm pretty sure that Brendan Rodgers is well aware because he's seen it just like you and I. Gerard Fitzpatrick, Taylor was awful. I had hope for him, but not after today. Can't even take a throw-in. Right. I heard the commentary team talking about how well he played, Greg Taylor. And I felt that, and I've said this before, I think Greg Taylor, when he is allowed to be creative, he gets a bit of space, foot on the ball, like a midfield style player, he looks very comfortable. He can create. I thought down the left-hand side today we were very weak. And in actual fact, I thought the two starting wingers were pretty wasteful, didn't really create too much. Palma was a disappointment for me today. And I did, and I said, and I spoke long and hard about this, I thought the two wingers would have started in the opposite wings, and they didn't. But you could see why, because you can nullify a threat by putting them on a back foot, and I think we did that with Palma. But Palma didn't have a great game either, did he? So it might have been more of an issue down the left-hand side. There was nothing really screaming out at me about Taylor. I don't like it when he has a go at other players. He did that with Mikey Johnston. I think that was the point that Danielle was making earlier. I don't like that. Let's talk about Kyogo's goal. Yeah, I'm getting to that. I'm saving that one. He's been getting a lot of stick. But no, I'm not sure. I don't think he was that bad, was he? I don't think that Greg Taylor was that bad. Let us know what you think in the comments section. I just think, as a team, it was a very good performance. Why? Here we go. We'll bring this in. Why is Taylor getting all the crap? It's not Taylor. Palma does that. This is what I would say. Palma doesn't track back. Maeda does that. Maeda's wasted on the right. Listen, we won the game, so it worked. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I don't think Greg Taylor had a bad game. Over the piece, I think it was a very, very good performance by Celtic. I think we won it well. Obviously, at 2-0, you want to put the game to bed. I thought we would after the red card. We didn't. And then, obviously, when they score the free kick, you're then thinking, oh dear, anything can happen here. Had we drawn that game, here we go. This is what we want. We want feedback. Had we drawn the game, it would have been one of the ones that you thought, how on earth did we draw that game? I just felt we dominated it too much to throw anything away. Who'd be 67? I thought he played, as part of the unit. Taylor was okay, says Craigie. That's the way I think Taylor was sound. Rambo J. I think that view is in the minority at the moment. Let's hear your thoughts, either if you're watching live or afterwards as well. But yeah, let's talk about Kyogo. Okay, so we go into this game again. The brilliant Scottish media talking about the fact, and no disrespect to the player Shankland, that he's a better finisher than Kyogo. Give me peace. Kyogo doesn't become a bad player overnight. And I keep going on about 3 moments this season, 2 of them in the Champions League, 1 of them at Ibrox, where Kyogo has shown he is still that top quality striker. Yes, we need another striker. We've been needing another striker for 2 years. Since Joey Dawson came on against St Johnstone on Boxing Day 2 years ago, we've been banging on about it. I was speaking about it in the pre-match. But Kyogo is still your talisman. He was brilliant today. He was absolutely fantastic today. The finish was just, that's the quality. That's the quality that Brendan Rodgers is talking about. When you bring somebody to this football club and on a knife thread, you can change it. You can change it with a goal like that, which completely changes the game. All the complexion of the game absolutely completely changes it. That's the quality that you need. And yeah, I don't think all season we've played to his advantage. I don't think that we've played to his strengths. I think that the wingers have played a massive part in that. And the fact that we've chopped and changed the wingers through a combination of bad luck, injuries, etc. But Kyogo is still a quality player. And when he plays like he did today, there was moments in the second half where he started dropping deep. He calmed things down. He put his foot on the ball. He was looking up for opportunities. I thought he was outstanding today. So, yeah, he shut up a lot of critics, I would suggest. Yeah, I don't know if you're on social media, right? But it's fun in games. It's almost like entering different worlds on social media because you've got your Facebook, haven't you, where it's a lot of people that you actually know in real life. And then you've got Twitter or X, which is a lot of people that share it, interests, football, music, Celtic, etc. And I had an incredible experience just the other day there from someone I don't know, have never interacted with, have no idea who he is, he or she. And they said the following about me, which was quite concerning. I can't read the last bit, it was too disgusting. But it was a Rangers fan. It was a Rangers fan. And if I can find it, I'll read something out for you, because these people actually, they walk among us. These people walk among us, coming in, brandishing me Artek's face. Now, there's a new one. There's a new there's a new one to call you somebody that you don't like very much. And he went on about how obviously as a child certain things had happened to me, etc. Unbelievable the way that these people's minds work around a game of football. And after the 90 minutes or 101 minutes are up, after all that abuse all week, we've won the game 2-1. So absolutely get it up, you. Every single one of you who takes time out to try and have a go at people online. It's absolutely tragic, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you something else in relation to this. We get enough of that from the Scottish media. We get people in the Scottish media who try to create a narrative that Brendan Rodgers isn't happy, etc., etc., etc. And I'm pretty sure going into January, Celtic do have things lined up, and I'm looking forward to us bringing in some quality. We showed today that that's the best, that second best team in Scotland we played today, and we beat them, and we're 8 points ahead, 8 points clear at the top of the league. Enjoy tonight, enjoy tomorrow, going into Hogmanay, and have a great new year, every single one of you, because as I said before, we are able to do what we do because you tune in, and that is the biggest thing. And we've got Gerard Fitzpatrick coming up here. Here we go. Before we go, wouldn't be thinking the same if Cantwell could shoot after Taylor let him in behind. And I feel bad because I like Taylor. Just don't think he's a starter on this team. You know what? See, when you're sitting 8 points clear at the top of the league, I think you're all right to say, listen, that was brilliant. Let's enjoy it. But it would be even better if we can improve the goalie. It would be even better if we could improve the left back. And if we can bring in a third striker, that would improve the team. And that's what we need to do right now, because we can rinse and rinse and rinse this team for all that it's worth. There will come a point where it comes to the end of the cycle and we can't rinse a result like we did today. I thought it was a Brendan Rodgers masterclass. Yes, I'm a fan, and I'll continue to be a fan if we can go up against Rangers and maintain a points deficit like 8 points, which is phenomenal. Thanks every single one of you for getting involved. I've really enjoyed it, even though we ran solo today, which is understandable because they're all in the CSCs and enjoying themselves at the game. Phenomenal. Great result for Celtic. We move into the new year on top of the pile. Have a great one, and I'll see you again in 2024.